With Snow White finally hitting the big screen, Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega joining forces in an upcoming horror comedy, and an endless supply of Robert Pattinson under the direction of Bong Joon-ho in his first Hollywood blockbuster. These are just some of the movies that you need to look out for in the upcoming months.
Beans?
Welcome back to Movie Beings. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are always excited to discuss the upcoming movies in the year. Joining us in the studio today is another film fanatic, Jigme Zangmo. And she's here to help you guys navigate the upcoming movies. Welcome, Jigme.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, super
It's a pleasure.
excited. Yeah, always. And if you want to give us a quick introduction about yourself and your relationship with films.
So, as Darren said, my name is Jigme. I'm from Bhutan. It's a small Himalayan country it's just like sandwiched between China and India. It's a very small country, so a lot of people in Australia don't really know about it. I'm currently doing my master's, and I also work as a social impact specialist. But I feel like my relationship with film started very young. I was just very amazed by the different kind of emotions films can evoke, and whenever I had a bad day, I would watch a really good film, and it always made me feel better. And then I just, as I grew older, I just realized the technicalities and the work that goes into it, and like film as an entire art, process, and also like a form of art. It always fascinated me. So I just started researching on movies, started going to the theater a lot. So that's my relationship with films.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, amazing. And I don't think we picked a better guest to join us in this episode. So the way that we organize this episode is we will base on the release dates in US and in Australia.
As best as we can.
Yes.
Yes.
It's always a bit messy.
Let's start with March.
When's March?
March into the month.
There you go.
Before we talk about the movies that are coming, I think we need to get this out of the way. Snow White.
Snow White? Oh.
Get out of the way. So it's scheduled to release in Australia on the 20th of March and 21st of March in the US. It's one of the movies I want to discuss because a lot of people are looking at this movie, but I don't think a lot of people will come and see it. I think there are so many controversies surrounding this movie that people are actually hoping it to flop. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's fair, but it's hard because, like, obviously they've already released so many other kind of like, I don't even know what you call it, like remakes of the original Disney films. And obviously they haven't stopped and they've had enough success that they keep going. Like, I remember that with The Little Mermaid as well. When that was coming out, everyone was like, oh, it's terrible. You know, how could you put like a black woman in? And it's like, that stuff doesn't bother me as much, but it's like, is the film any good? And I think that's where they like miss it a bit because it's so hard to recapture kind of that animation in real film. And I feel like that's where they've kind of missed it and they don't even care anymore. Because even when I was watching the trailer for this again, and I'm like, ugh, like a lot of CG that's just kind of like put in there. It's like, well, like we're talking about before, like with the dwarves and stuff. And how they could have probably really cast, real dwarves for it. Like, it's not like it's that crazy to have them in film. It seems so unnecessary to have CG dwarves in this.
Yeah, what about you, Jigme?
I think like Tim, I just echo whatever Tim said. I feel like sometimes it's just good to not remake live action movies of animation, like really good animation. And I feel like it's about honoring the heritage of the entire animation process and honoring the people who've actually made those films back then. I think if production can't actually, encapsulate the emotions and and all of those technicalities of an animation movie, I think it should just be left on its own because it's a very unique art form as it is. It's a really good movie, and if you think about it, like it was a lot of decades ago as well. So I feel like just keeping it raw and just like I would rather watch the original Snow White movie on the theaters right now with my niece and then with my friends' kids. I think that would make it so much more memorable. I would say like sometimes it's just unnecessary to make remake all of those fairy tales and put a human face to it.
Yeah,
That's so
pretty much.
interesting. Like Tim and I, we were talking about the Beauty and the Beast movie.
That's like the
Emma
first
Watson.
one. That was the first one that started it off essentially.
And I understand, they want to capitalize on the nostalgia of the people who grew up watching the animations. And for Beauty and the Beast, they didn't change the story at all. So they just replaced the characters with real people, and it still succeeded. I really don't understand why they decided to change the format. Oh, now we have to recast a different person. Now we have to change the story a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that was the first test though, right? And that found some success. And then it's like easy for them to be like, hey, let's just keep doing this. Because obviously now where we're at, like what haven't they done now?
Yeah,
Like I think they've
exactly.
nearly done everyone, right? That's
That
what I
is
mean.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, the success of Beauty and the Beast would directly go to how authentic it was to the real films and the perfect casting. Everyone was very happy with the casting. Everyone was happy with, with how original, like it just did not steer away from, didn't give us a lot of plot twist or anything like that. It was just raw Disney movie, but in a human form, in a really good musical. They haven't changed the songs. It's all the same. So I think people did like Beauty and the Beast because of that, because it was authentically just a remake of it.
Correct.
But right now, what we're seeing is there's a lot of dialogue happening, discourse happening around DEI, like diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I feel like Hollywood is really missing the mark with that.
Yeah.
I feel like we want diversity in roles. We want people to be actually casted the way the films were before. Like, the characters kind of need to represent who the characters were before, I think. And I feel like that effort, from what I saw on the internet, is like, this is not how diversity and inclusion should work in Hollywood. We just don't want anyone to just do the role. It has to be according to the, just original screenplay.
Yeah.
And how the characters were meant to be. I feel like it's just a very big, people find it very, it's just, they just don't want that, I guess, because it's not authentic. Authentically, they're not doing it just to make sure that people get representation. They're just doing it for clout or for,
is even-
to spark discussion is what I heard.
Which is
here.
even weird, not that because it hasn't really ever panned out like with these films either. But like I said before, I don't even think that's like the thing that lets down the film to begin with. But like I haven't watched any of these films just because I was like, I did grow up on those Disney films and like I said, like The Lion King and stuff, but I had no reason to go watch them. Like it feels like, if I wanted to, I'd just watch the original. Like it feels a bit of a waste. Like they get that instant, like people go to watch it and then it's like, we don't really care about this anymore.
Yeah.
That's true.
But it's a bit sad because I think it does take away from those original films as well, where people are like, was the original film as good as I remember now?
Yeah.
It's one of those things, right? Because like for me, if I watch a very bad remake, it makes me appreciate the original even more. So I always go back and watch the cartoons and then, like this has something magical about them. It creates a childhood. And I want to echo on Jigme's point as well. If you want to cast people from the diversity background, why don't you just cast them in their stories? Why do you have to put them into someone else's story and make them try to represent their group in a different story?
But the other thing with that is like, do those groups get a chance to be in films to begin with anyway?
Yeah.
Like that's the hard thing now to say, like, say you're casting an Asian actor, like what's the chance there's going to be a film for them in Hollywood at all that's based from
That is
like an
true.
Asian background?
Yeah.
It's very rare. Like I know recently there's been like a bit more of a burst of that, but even that's like hard for anyone to get anyway. So it's a bit hard to even say that, to be like, this was a white guy, it should have been a white guy, when it's like, well, there's plenty of white guy films, aren't there? We've
That
had
is true.
like, I don't think it's like from that angle, it's a bit tough. Like I don't mind like diversity hires, but
Of course, yeah.
I think, like you said, if they're putting it out there, like, oh, look who we've got or whatever, like, but even like with these films, most of them are like unknown. Like even though who's the evil queen in this? What's her name?
Gal Gadot. Yeah.
Even her, she's like the worst actress going around, and she gets this role more for her name than her acting ability, which is that makes me more sad than anyone else in this film, because I'm like, any less reason to watch this film? Like, you got Gal Gadot, like that's gonna really make me go watch this film.
That's true.
So by replacing the dwarves with CGI, it balloons
that's
the
the worst.
budget.
Yeah,
and
as
it's
well.
just not affecting the movie quality, but it ballooned the budget to nearly $270 million.
Oh my goodness.
And
that's a lot.
And that hasn't included any marketing or distribution.
Yeah, I know. It's
so
crazy.
to make the money back, it would need to make at least $500 million just to break even. And then to make any profits, you need to double that. So $1 billion for a Snow White Disney remake.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but see, you can see the contradiction here as well. They're casting. They really want to cast diverse characters from diverse backgrounds. But why couldn't they just
Hire some
some
dwarves?
hire dwarf actors who are actually upcoming and they're actually getting getting what do you say, momentum right now with like Peter Dinklage and all of those like other actors that are coming
was saying
up.
before, he kind of talked against that as well. Like he and it's weird when coming from him as well, but because he's like the main guy and he gets his own films as well. And it's like he doesn't want other people to get this job, and it's like it's sad.
There's a lot of contradictions, and I think that's why the viewers are confused as well. Because I think everyone would love to see different representations of themselves, you know, their ethnicity and where they come from being represented in different films. But the thing is, there's just always this contradiction of sometimes why it's necessary, and then the way that Hollywood does it as well. So I think people really don't like that aspect of it. Yeah.
And I think we talk about Snow White long enough.
That's enough.
I think now we need to talk about the movies that people actually want to watch. So in March, what are some of the anticipated movies?
Should we jump into our most one first, maybe?
Sure.
Mickey 17?
Mickey 17.
Yes.
So Mickey 17, so it's scheduled to release in the US on the 7th of March, and it's scheduled to release in Australia on the 17th of April. So we actually have to wait more than a month to watch this movie.
Which will be a bit sad, but we'll see how we go.
Well, hopefully. So this movie was premiered at the Berlin International Film Festival on February 15, and it was being released in South Korea on February 28th this year. So makes sense because the movie is directed by Bong Joon-ho from Parasite. How excited are we for this movie?
I'm very excited for this. Really want to see Bong Joon-ho's like take on Hollywood, take on like a very interesting novel that was written, and people actually really like that novel. I haven't read it. Not sure if you, because it's dystopian. It's right up his alley. So I really want to see how he brings up his elements of satire and like comedy, and also at the same time like reflecting, making people reflect on the human nature, and then like the class divide and all of those like different themes that he always has in his movies. So I'm really excited to see how he brings that out.
Because even when you watch the trailers, it shows it a lot anyway in those trailers. So it does show like, you kind of know what you're getting in for, like from the beginning. But it is very exciting as well because it completely feels completely off kilter from Parasite, like going from Parasite to this. And like you said, this is like a Hollywood film as well, which is going to be another strange thing as well, like coming from Parasite and that winning. And a lot of people give that shit because it's like, oh, it's not an American film or whatever. And now he's doing like an American film. So it'll be funny to see how it's like seen. But I know that side of the internet's like, don't really pay attention to those people anyway. But I'm very interested because like I love Robert Pattinson. He's been amazing pretty much off the Twilight films. And he's kind of come into his own now. Like he's a great actor. And I think he can pull this off great. Like playing technically 17 different people or by himself.
Is true.
So I think it's got a lot of things promised, like it's got a lot of promise for it. Hopefully can pull it off, right?
And for me, like, when I watched the trailer, it gave me a feeling of this is a combination of Groundhog's Day, Edge of Tomorrow, so you live the same day over and over again.
Edge of Tomorrow.
And the seventh day starring Arnold Schwarzenegger when you deal with the clones. So I mean, like, you know, like when I saw the trailer, I was really interested, and the idea of the movie was interesting as well. So he's basically a human test dummy, and then he got into this planet to deal with all the hardship so that they can colonize this planet. So you know, a lot of interesting ideas, a lot of cool visual effects. So I read online that the budget for this movie was reported to be $120 million. So Bong Joon-ho made Parasite on a fraction of this. So very interested to see what he can do.
Well, like I already said, that's like even now, that seems like very small for like a big budget film in America. Because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, usually they're like 150 to 200 million if you think of like Marvel or even like when you're talking before Snow White, it's like got a huge budget. So I think it'll probably pay off. Like that's still not too crazy. I think it'll probably get, you know, like you said, we've got all the hype from Parasite and then coming into this. I think it'll probably still do all right. But like I said, I feel like I've said that about other films and it hasn't worked out. So
it's very surprising. The budget for the film's really pretty low actually, with a lot of like A-list celebrities in it as well. So that's really interesting. And also at the same time, like I feel like Bong Joon-ho like coming to Hollywood, I think opens up a lot of new doors for South Korean directors and like directors of Asian heritage as well into the limelight. So I think I'm really looking forward to seeing how this will open up doors for a lot of different directors from all walks of life.
Because then it will show that it's like any international director can like produce something amazing no matter where it's from, right? And I think that'll be huge because I think they do kind of Hollywood gets roped in and kind of using the same guys over and over for their films, or even people that haven't had much of a chance. I'm like, oh, can you just do this shitty movie for us and just like put it on your resume? Because that's what I was looking through, some of these films that maybe weren't as good, and I'm like, oh, this guy's only done like 1 or 2 films, and I'm like, I feel bad for him. It's like they're probably they're like, oh, can you just do this film for us? And I'm like, I haven't really got any other job offers, but
and I also read that Bong Joon-ho actually meticulously storyboarded the entire sequence of the entire movie. So really want to see that plan out as well. I think him as a director, I've been following his work for a bit now. And it's just the way he works is just so interesting. I compare him with like Miyazaki. Like the amount of hard work they put into their art is.
And I was talking to Tim about this as well. Like the pre-production process is so important to a movie making.
Yeah.
But it usually gets bypassed by deadlines and release dates, and we have to make up the market and make money. Which I understand because it's a huge industry. If you want to keep it going, you have to support all the people working in it, which is understandable. But I think Jigme, you brought up a very good point. I think now they're starting to realize the potential of the Asian markets. The people in Asia, they love entertainment. They love to be entertained. They love watching movies. They love spending on going to the cinema. And I think now, if they, with just the name of Bong Joon-ho, like being the movie released in South Korea, that's already a big step.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And even before the US.
Yeah, which is great.
And people were like, oh, there's so much box office already.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if the international is probably bigger than it would be for the American box office.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a Chinese animation. I'm not sure you guys heard of this. It's Naja. So it's about one of the Chinese deities, a kid riding on Hot Wheels and, fighting off evil. So that movie was scheduled to release in Vietnam and other countries, but it made more than $1 billion in China alone.
Damn.
Without any other markets. So you can imagine that if the movie does well. Yeah.
Well, I know Hollywood for a long time tries to get into China because I know they do it a lot with Marvel movies. They try to censor stuff so they can get it released in China to get like that money. Because I know with Star Wars, the big one I know the movie's terrible, Rise of Skywalker, but there's a kiss at the end between 2 women, and they cut that out for a Chinese audience because obviously they don't want to see 2 women kissing because that doesn't happen in China.
Yeah, it's so interesting to talk about these markets as well because I read somewhere that when a movie gets into China, the production company will have to pay up to 45% of the box office to the distribution company in China. So they are willing to take that risk so that they can.
Well, that's what
back.
I mean. Like you said, like $1 billion by itself in China. So if it takes off in China, you're happy anyway, right? So they're just trying to break in general. But I don't know if there's been a Hollywood movie really that's done it.
Yeah,
that is true.
Now let's see if Mickey 17 can do it.
Is it Mickey 17 will do it?
Cool. Well, what's your next movie for March?
Next movie?
For me, I have Flow. So this
Flow?
movie was released and premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in 2024. This is an animation movie. This movie was interesting for me because it's a co-production of 3 countries: Latvia, France, and Belgium. And it took the whole team 5.5 years to complete this animation. I'm not sure if you have seen the trailer, but the story is about a black cat.
Yeah.
Got into a boat after a flood, and the black cat makes friends with a golden retriever, with a lemur, with a bird, and they just went on this whole journey to explore the world. And the animation is made in a 3D style, but it's got a lot of dynamic camera movement, and it was made it's got a limited release, but it's got 20 million box office against the 6 million budget, and this movie was the highest view movie in Latvian history.
all three of them saw it.
It's funny that you mentioned that. So the population of Latvia is 1.8 million people.
Well, there you go.
It sold 255,000 tickets,
Well, there you go.
which is 15% of the
Yeah,
population.
I was going to say.
That's interesting.
So if you put that into the context of Australia, it means that 15% would be $4 million.
Yeah,
4 million
million
tickets.
yeah.
About $200 million box office. And in Vietnam, that would be 1 trillion Vietnam dong. A dream of all Vietnamese directors.
Oh, that is very interesting. I think I'll probably look into
Because it's got, did it get an Oscar nom as well for like
Yep.
best animation? I remember seeing it up there.
For best international movie.
Yeah.
And then, it got into the best animated feature as well.
Yeah.
I feel like there's this trend where a lot of people my age, like people in their 20s and 30s, they resonate a lot with animation movies these days as well. I've seen that happen with like parents and people just crying over Bluey, watching an episode of Bluey.
Yeah, Bluey, yeah.
Yeah, and then like with Inside Out 2
Yeah.
and then Wild Robot, I feel like those really struck a chord with people like just like Gen Z millennials, because it just when you watch animation movies now, you understand the values, you understand the journey of the protagonist, and then their friends and everything, and I feel like that really does strike a chord with people, and I feel like the demographic of who goes to watch animation movies is also changing a bit.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Which is very
definitely
interesting.
A lot more wider. Like,
Yeah.
it definitely would just be a kids film, but I think like you said, older people generally go watch this as well, and like you said, it is a great film as well. So it's like it's going to get enjoyed more than just watching a cat make some.
I really hope that this movie does well, because this movie
Well, it
has
seems like it's
zero
already-
dialogues.
Well, that's what I mean. It
Yeah.
seems like it's already had a decent amount of success
Yeah.
without a wide release yet.
Yeah.
So we'll probably do well anyway.
Yeah. I wish that someday Vietnam can have a movie that can have a title on the trailer that says represents the country for Oscar. So this movie was the official selection for Latvia for the
of
Oscar.
course.
So you have to represent the whole country. It has to be
Yes.
pretty bloody good.
Yeah, like it has a bit more meaning to it than like a normal film would.
And it's an animation about cats. So I mean, people love cats and
True.
dogs. Got
And dogs.
a golden retriever in there. So that's one of the movies that I'm really, really excited to see. You have another one for March.
You mean any good ones or?
And the ones that you are excited to see in March. What about you, Jigme? Have you got another one?
I had a movie. It's called Spit. It's
Yes.
an Australian movie. I saw the trailer, really liked it. And yeah, it's just like I haven't really gotten into a lot of Australian cinema before. I feel like it's just generalized as American, where in Asia it's always just like we don't really know where the movie's from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure that I might have watched a lot of Australian films, but really didn't know that it was actually from Australia. But looking forward to that movie. The trailer was really interesting, and apparently it got like really good reviews in international screenings as well. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And it's always good to have a Australian production as well, because we had a guest on the other from the other episode where she's a professional in the Australian film industry, and she mentioned that this industry is really struggling because it doesn't get a lot of funding from the private sources. The only sources that it gets from is just Screen Victoria and Screen Australia. So it's a government-based production. And, a lot of Australian actors and even film professionals, they have to go to the US and Hollywood to even get work.
Yeah.
So, I think it's starting to lose the identity a little bit. So that's why it's hard for you to identify which movies are from Australia, which movies are from the US. I know which movies are from Vietnam because they usually suck. It's just bad. I always want to have a good movie from Vietnam that can be represented in other countries, but we still have a long way to go. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Australian movie. Do you remember the log line, the premise of the movie?
So I remember that it was about an ex-convict that comes to Australia after 20 years.
That sounds very Australian.
Ex-convict.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently it's like he faces old enemies, and he rekindles with a lot of like different people, and he just realizes how Australia has changed over the 20 years. So that's like, I think that's really interesting
That's a really
to look
interesting
at.
premise,
Yeah.
right?
Of course, it has to be an ex-convict.
Yeah, right. I was like, convicts coming back to the convict place, right?
Any
very
other
interesting.
movies?
Well, these are maybe some movies I'm not as interested in. but
Okay.
There was The Killers, the bloody Dave Bautista one.
The Killers, like in the Lost Land.
No. It's just the Killer's Game. Sorry.
The Killer's Game. Yeah,
With
yeah,
Dave
yeah.
Bautista, and he's like an assassin that's dying, and then they put out a hit. He puts a hit on himself, so the assassins will come and kill him before he dies of cancer. And then the doctor rings him up, it's like, "Hey, mate, you actually don't have cancer." So now he has to fight off all these assassins. So a very typical Hollywood action film with Dave Bautista.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give him credit though. Like he's been trying to get into like different genres and.
Well, yeah, he's definitely been like, you think of someone like The Rock, but I do think Dave Bautista is like a good actor, but I feel like he's probably still a bit typecast. I think that's what he was worried about, because especially from Guardians of the Galaxy, that's what he was worried about. And then I'm like, he's doing something like this. I'm like, well, it's much better than Guardians of the Galaxy, but I was just like, I just watched it. I'm like, it looks like a Netflix film or a streaming film. It's just like that kind of vibe. I'm like, something I don't want to watch, but I'm like,
it's Dave Bautista.
I hope Dave Bautista does well.
Yeah. Grew up watching him wrestle, so.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, no, he was the beast. I was a fan of his as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see him transition out of the Guardian of the Galaxy movies, and he was in Dune as well, playing a small role.
Yes.
And now,
well, he was in Blade Runner with Villeneuve anyway.
Yeah,
so that's why I
true.
think he was probably cast in this, because that's what I mean. He's good in those films. But that's like I said, he's going to type this like big dude to be
That's
like.
true.
he did try to lose a lot of weight.
Yeah, I saw those images. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's like half his size. He's still a big dude, but he's not like he's not like a giant.
Yeah, I saw the trailer of that movie as well. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I want Dave Bautista to get paid and get praises, but I'm not going to watch this movie.
Not this movie. That's what I was thinking.
Another movie that I'm interested in
Yes.
is the I'm Still Here movie. So it's made in Brazil.
Yes.
So it's premiered in Venice in September 2024, and it received a 10-minute standing ovation. Tim. I know that you're not up for this kind of stuff.
Well, I was talking about Darren with this before when we were like, a lot of people, they'll like give us standing ovations for his films, and sometimes they're not good. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Joker 2. I didn't want to put myself through it, but that got it as well. That got like a standing ovation when it got screened, and I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I mean. And that's what I'm like
Standing ovation for what? In what premise?
I assume for Phoenix's performance, but it's still like,
It's not a good story.
come on, mate. Like, there's so many other like. Just leave it alone. Like, that's 10 minutes standing. I think it's just the thing now. It's like this film got a 30-hour standing ovation. The movie was 20 minutes long, and it's like, oh God. It's just like, I don't know. It's just a bit much, right?
Yeah. Have you seen Joker 2?
I have not, but I have friends who went to watch it. Like, I'm more of a Marvel fan, so I don't usually enjoy DC movies because it's just the DC comics, and then the animation is really good. But like the production of DC movies, it's just literally very dark. You can't really see much. That just gave me a little bit of issues.
I was going to say that's Zack Snyder, and especially.
Don't get him started on this.
But no, I get it. But it's also like the movies haven't been good. Like
yeah.
the original Joker was good.
Oh,
the new
that was
Batman,
really good,
the new
yes.
Batman film with Robert Pattinson,
Yes,
I
that was
enjoyed.
surprisingly
But like all that other stuff, I can understand. Like I would say, I'm not like a big comic book guy, but I would prefer like I love Batman growing up and stuff.
Yes,
But
exactly.
it's hard like going to the films and you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, and I think like it's just about, again, what do you say? Justice League and all of the
but
DC universe.
that's what they're caught into now. That's why I
Yes.
was like, oh, hopefully they're out of that, because obviously Batman and Joker were separate.
Yes.
But that's why I didn't want to watch Joker 2 either, because I love Joker, the original one. I'm like, I'm going to watch this and cry probably just because of how much they like
Butcher
ruined.
myself.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's why when Darren told me you watch it, I'm like, how'd you do it?
I watched Joker 2, and then I have to agree with a lot of people.
Yes.
I was like, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've had friends who just couldn't get through the movie. They just left the theater after a while, and I was like,
oh my gosh.
And I think like the movie was made on a wrong reason as well, because the director didn't want to make a sequel, but then he was pressured into making
because
a
it made
movie.
so much money,
Oh, no.
right? I think that's what some people that saw it's like, oh, that's why it's great, because he was made to make this film, but they did a terrible job on purpose, just to be like, hey, you made me do this. This is what you get. And I'm like, that'd be crazy, but I'd still like a good movie.
That was sad, really. Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of the DC comics and the animations, and you know, it pains me to watch a badly made DC movie.
And there's been a lot.
Yeah. Nah. I mean, if you guys want to hear what we really feel, we have an episode where we discuss the 5 worst DC movies, where we watch 3 bad DC movies every day to make out a list of 5. So yeah,
It was terrible.
the pain that,
Would not recommend.
the pain that we put ourselves through for your entertainment. So when I guess back to I'm Still Here.
Yes.
So this movie is scheduled to release in Australia on the 27th of March 2025. So this is quite interesting because it's got nominated for the best feature and other categories, but in order for it to be qualified, it needs to have a short theatrical run.
Release, yeah.
So it was released in Salvador for 7 days, and then for another 7 days in the US.
Yeah. Just
So-
so it meets the requirements.
Budget of $1.5 million. It has already generated 25.7.
Well, there you go.
With limited release, and the main actress had just won the Golden Globes. So Fernanda Torres, and now she's nominated for the Best Actress as well. So I think she's got a really good chance of winning it. If you guys haven't seen this movie, go watch it. It might not be an easy movie to watch. It's not a family friend. Well, I think it's a family-centric movie,
But not
it's
meant
not
for the family.
friendly. But I discussed this with Tim earlier. I watched The City of God. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you've seen it.
No, I have not.
It's a bloody brilliant movie made in Sao Paulo, so a Brazilian production. A small budget, and I watched it and it just blew me away that 99% of the cast are all amateur actors.
Oh,
You definitely need to watch it. Definitely
okay, I'll
watch
put
it.
that
Just
in
watch
my
it.
list.
Yeah. I mean, this is a movie that I'm really looking forward to. Just like what we were discussing before. I think now more and more international movies are getting a recognition from Hollywood, and it's generating a lot of buzz around the world and the box office. And if Fernanda Torres wins the Oscar, she will be the first Brazilian and Portuguese descent to win the Oscar. So
That is
a
very
lot
nice.
of things are riding on this movie as well. So yeah, very looking forward to it. Any other mentions you want to discuss?
I love horror movies. So
2 or 3 coming out.
yeah, 2
There's
or
a
3
few.
coming out in March, which is very interesting. But I'm really looking forward to Locked. I think it stars Bill Skarsgård. Just looking forward to that movie. I just love seeing Bill in horror movies. Like from his portrayal of Pennywise was one of the most disturbing things I've ever watched for me. And I'm coming from someone who's like watched a lot of horror films. Like nothing phases me more than Pennywise for some reason.
Oh. So it seems like you don't like clowns.
Probably have that phobia. Don't know.
Yeah. Have you seen him in Nosferatu?
I was going to go and watch it, but apparently he did a really good job.
It is a very good film, but
Yeah.
you gotta enjoy those kinds of films though. It isn't a very like it's not like a horror film in that essence.
Yes.
It's just kind of the idea of what Nosferatu is. But
Yeah.
it's still very enjoyable.
Yeah. So Tim and I, we saw the trailer for Locked in the cinema while we were watching The Monkey. So we're going to have a different episode discussing that movie. But this movie is a remake of a 4x4, an Argentinian movie.
Yes.
And I think we kind of know the history of American remakes of great movies before. Oh boy, I'm looking at you. Oh my God. But it's got a stellar cast. It's got Anthony Hopkins in this. So hopefully it will do well. And I think the concept is very transferable. It doesn't need to be set in certain countries.
But I think it seems very easy to be like stupid, like being like locked in a car and like bad shit happens. Like the setting is so weird. Like I think it would take a lot for the audience to kind of like buy in, right?
That is true. Yeah.
And if Anthony Hopkins or even Skarsgård is like a bit undersold, I think it would like ruin the film. I think because especially when they're the like only 2 people in the film and the car, so it's like they have to really like buy into it, which is like can be hard on any actor just to be like the main premise for so long.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Like it does sound like a good film to get drunk to, but we'll see how we go.
That is true. Because it just the plot kind of reminded me of this movie called Creep. I'm not sure if you've watched it. It's on Netflix as well. But the whole movie, it's just two people. One of the directors himself, I don't know his name, unfortunately, but he just gets, so the person, he gets an ad on Marketplace where a person's looking for a videographer.
Oh God!
So he goes to a cabin in the woods to meet the person.
Never meet anyone in the woods.
And then apparently the guy's like, "Hi, I was the one who put out the ad. I am dying from cancer. But then I really want you to document a few videos for my son who's going to be born soon. So he just, the disturbing levels of, things just happening. It's a really good movie. So I probably thought it might go into that area as well, because I really like horror movies where there's very minimal casting, because it just brings out the eeriness and it brings out a lot was tension as well. So looking forward to that aspect of it. Yeah.
And the thing is, I always have a soft spot for movies that made in one location. So I think I was talking to Tim about the phone booth with Colin Farrell. We're stuck in that.
Well, the phone booth doesn't have any wheels though.
And Panic Room as well. I like the movies that is set in one location and you get all those characters surrounding it. And I think we talked about Late Night with the Devil as well, which was set into a film studio. Yeah. I mean, I think when you limit the amount of budget and location and you really focus on the character and the story.
It's like the idea they can't get away, right?
Exactly.
They're kind of stuck in this spot no matter what it is, right?
It just
makes it more claustrophobia and kind of like, oh shit, how did anybody get out of this situation?
Yeah, it makes us feel trapped as well.
Well, when this is like he's literally locked in a car. So it's like, it's literally...
Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are other horror movies that are coming out in the year as well. So one of a few of them is The Rule of Jenny Penn. I'm not sure if you guys seen the trailer. No. It's got John Lithgow and Jeffrey Rush from Pirates of the Caribbean. Very small cast.
Okay.
And it's based on the short story written by Owen Marshall, New Zealand writer.
Almost Australian.
And it's directed by James Ashcroft, who is a New Zealander director.
Okay, that's cool.
Unfortunately, his filmography contains Catwoman and Walking Tall by The Rock.
Well, it could only get better, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I think he's starting to find his spot in the horror genre. So hopefully he can do well with this movie. So this movie surrounds a guy who plays with dolls.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, already.
Already getting a good reaction from it.
already. And another movie that I'm interested in, which is another A24 drama opus starring John Malkovich. I haven't read much about this movie, but I saw the trailer.
Kind of like getting involved in a cult as like media. I think they're like the media members and they're like invited in and it's just like clearly a cult. It's like, we're not a cult.
And the idea that the movie is exploring is like no cult is bigger than the media. And I think that's a really, really interesting idea.
Yeah, that is true.
We're part of that quote as well.
Yeah, but well, it's more like, I don't know, even like it depends how high up it is, right? Like think of it like Scientology. Like I know like now it's long gone, but they controlled the narrative for a long time.
That is true. Yeah.
So it's not like easy, but I do like the idea, and especially like Malkovich being like the main guy as well, which is great. It's like an ex-pop star or something.
Yeah.
And he's like going to sing these songs for these people. I'm like, oh my God.
He's been away for 20 years now. He's back on stage. But any other movies before we move on to April?
Well, there's The Death of the Unicorn, if we're talking about horror movies. That looked goofy as hell. I watched the trailer and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Have you seen the trailer, Jigme?
Yes, I've seen the trailer and I just didn't know what to think of it. It's just like all of those like Winnie the Pooh, Peter Pan, like it kind of gave me that vibes of like, what do you say, our childhood characters reimagined and made into...
being evil
made
characters that are going to come kill you.
Yes, exactly. It kind of reminded me of that franchise as a whole.
Yeah, but it's got like a decent cast. That's what I was surprised about. I was like, and then when I watched the trailer, I'm like, this dude's so stupid.
Exactly.
No, I mean, this movie was interesting because it's trying to blend the two genres.
Yes.
The horror and comedy. And I think we did watch a few movies that try to do that, but it's not easy to do. And with Paul Rudd, the guy who doesn't age, and Jenna Ortega, I think this is going to be a big year for her in cinemas as well.
That is true.
And I think
I saw she's got a few films coming out.
And there's another underrated actor, Will Poulter.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I was like, that's why I thought him. It looks like an interesting cast, but the premise seems so stupid.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's like branded for like kids. I don't think it's branded for kids. But casting Jenna Ortega, a lot of kids love her.
Well, so especially from Wednesday fame.
Yes, right? Exactly.
But that's what's weird because she did do. Was it the Scream remake? She was like in that.
Yes.
So it's like I think she's like stuck in this horror element for a while until she maybe branches out. But this is what. That's why I was thinking like, who's this for? I'm like, it's such a. It seems like a goofy ass film that like leans into it, but. I don't know if you just maybe it'll just be for a laugh, but we'll see if we even watch it. That is.
And this movie is being released by A24. So
Well, there you go.
so it's always
Yeah.
a point of reassurance that A24 is.
I don't know if it's a
producing.
reassurance, but they're just like they produce a lot of stuff, which is always good. But I don't know. When I watched the trailer, I was like, oh.
And to put your mind at ease, they managed to get John Carpenter to compose the music.
Oh, so at least the music will be good.
Yeah, okay. At least you don't want to turn off the
Don't worry about don't
Close your eyes and
don't worry about what's happening in the film.
Yeah. I mean, I personally find the concept of the movie is quite interesting. Just like what Jigme was saying, a mythical creature from our childhood is back and it's being reimagined into a different situation in the modern time as well. So I think that would be very interesting. I admit that this movie might be one of my guilty pleasures. I know that people might not like it, but I might like it. But that's the thing. I was
That's
no.
all right.
What else should we discuss for this month or before we can move on to April?
Well, there was Novocaine as well, but that looks like a
Yes.
goofy
Yeah.
horror film with
Jack Quaid was in, yeah.
He seems to be getting a bit of Hollywood presence at the moment. Because I did watch The Boys, which I enjoy, and I think he's good in that.
Yes.
Because he's also in The Companion, the other film that came out a couple of months. Well, I think it was even last month. It wasn't that long ago.
yeah.
So I think he's trying to break into Hollywood as well. I think he's all right, but I don't know. I was watching this. I'm like, oh, this seems goofy as well. Like another weird premise of like his like girlfriend gets kidnapped, but he doesn't feel pain, so he goes on like this heroic kind of run where he's like beating up dudes, and he's like, oh. I can't feel pain. Oh, and it's like, oh, this is a bit weird.
And the style reminds me of Kick-Ass. I'm not sure if you guys seen those
Yeah,
movies.
Yeah, Kick-Ass,
definitely that
yes.
vibe, right?
Yes.
But I don't know how it played off. When I was watching this trailer, I'm like, I get it, but like, so that's going to be the whole premise for like an hour of this film is him like feeling, like getting hurt, and it's like, oh no, I can't feel it. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like how long can that last? But
No, that movie is not something that I would put on my watch list.
no, that's what I was thinking. But I was like, I'll see how we go. But
yeah.
because there was the other one as well, like the Queen of the Ring, that I was like quite interested in. But I like kind of looked into it a bit, and I'm like, I don't know. Like a lot, like the director didn't have much experience. A lot of the actors and stuff. Like the main actress I know from Arrow. I don't know if you've ever watched any of that early.
I've watched it like a few
Do you
episodes.
remember the blonde girl who's like the genius or the nerd?
Oh, yeah,
She's the main
yeah.
actress. Because I was watching the trailer, I'm like,
interesting.
I know her. And that's what I knew her from. But
Okay.
this is like her first Hollywood film, I think, that maybe. And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, that's like 15 years since like Arrow or something.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why I was like, I like the idea. It's like a woman trying to break into like wrestling in like the 30s, I think it's based. So it's like
Yes.
very much like an interesting film from that aspect. But I don't know about the team behind it. But it could still be a good film. I might be just jumping to conclusions. But I was interested. That's why I was like, I'm interested in this. And I like looked into it a bit. I'm like, oh, it could be a bit. Hopefully it's not as bad as I think it's going to be. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it has as much like good experience that I might have wanted behind a film like this. But I'm still kind of interested, but we'll see how we go.
So that movie can be treated as the new iPhone. So you're not going to go buy a new iPhone just yet. You're going to wait for
You're going to wait for other
Yeah.
people, other people to be like, it's
Yeah,
like
just give
every
you
other.
like reviews, like
yeah,
Marcus
exactly. It's
Brownlee.
that kind of film of being like, if I hear someone I know, it's like, oh, this was actually quite good. I'll go see it.
Yeah.
But I do that quite a lot, and then people are like, that's actually good. And I'm like, oh, shit, I've done it again. Another film that I've kicked off to the curve and didn't give a chance.
Cool. If you guys are happy, we can move on to
Yeah.
the month of April. So I think we have already discussed Death of Unicorn and Mickey 17.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you guys have any other movies in April, but there's one that I'm really interested in, which is Warfare. I'm not sure if you guys know about this movie. So it's another A24 production, but this movie is based on a memoir of an actual Navy SEAL.
Okay.
And when I watched the trailer, I thought this is like, just another trailer of a shooting scene. But when I read about the movie is made to follow the group of soldiers in real time. So you will follow that event, and then you follow all the other events, and it just blew my mind because it involves so much planning and coordinating of everything. And yeah, so it's released in US on the 11th of April. Unfortunately, it doesn't release in Australia just yet. But it's being directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. I'm not sure you guys are familiar, but Alex Garland wrote 28 Days Later,
Yeah, I was
Sunshine, The Dread,
Yeah, he's got some interesting films.
and
That's
Devil
what I
May
was-
Cry
Yeah.
game. Looking at you, the gamer. And Raymond Mendoza is an actual American military technical advisor.
So it does have a look, because it's always weird with those like Iraq film war films, because I feel like they like sometimes miss the point, or like
Yeah.
because was it this American Sniper I remember, and that got like initially got like a lot of praise, and then after a while everyone was like, oh, this is probably probably not great. So it's like maybe a better look at it, because like you said, it seems like they got a lot of good people on the team.
Yeah.
So because that's what I was like. I looked at the trailer, I'm like, oh, is this like another Iran war film? And then I looked at the people behind it, I'm like, oh, it's got some good people behind it, so it might be a little bit more worth of a credit than maybe I'll give it.
What's your take on war films?
I do enjoy it a lot because I did my bachelor's in international relations. So we study a lot of conflict resolution. We look at a lot of like wars, and we just look into entire history together. And then we see how diplomats and how leaders actually, responded to those situations. So I feel like war films do really have like a really, it evokes a lot of emotion with a lot of people, especially like Second World War films. They're very, 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 there's a lot of big selling point for a lot of war films as well. But yeah, I feel like, again, accuracy of narrating historical events that have, that revolves around a lot of killings and a lot of like bloodshed, obviously needs to be researched, and it has to have a lot of experts working on it as well, because you don't want to be narrating a story half-heartedly, because people do consider films as a form of narrating history as well, and you just don't want to give them half the truth, right? So I feel like, yes, I do enjoy them, but there will have been some films where, my eyebrows were raised because I was like, well, that's not that accurate. But I feel like this this film Warfare, I think probably because of the way it's like directed, it's a new form of direction, I feel, with war films. So it might be able to reel in a lot of people, because it's just a different way of presenting war films. So I'm actually looking forward to it as well. Yeah.
That's great. And the thing that I liked about this movie is, it's set in a small location as well, with a small group of people.
Yeah.
And you just follow them.
Because that's like that first scene from the trailer when they're like just in that room. Because I think that was more of the idea, like is it guerrilla warfare? No, like what am I thinking of?
Civil War?
No. The idea of like fighting in cities. I can't remember the name of it. They do have a name for it, but where you're just fighting in civilization, not like out in a big desert. It's not open combat. It's like all in tight, and it's brutal. That's why it's like tough.
Yeah,
that's why it'd be interesting to see how it goes.
And this movie is supposed to be the follow-up on the 2024 Civil War.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
The movie that you like so much.
Yeah, but obviously it's a different perspective. But we'll see how it goes.
Now, and the one thing that I kind of think about is, that whenever you watch a movie, and especially a war movie made from Hollywood, they usually like to glorify war and killing.
Yes,
Well, they take their liberties as well, right?
They do, yeah.
Which you're going to always expect, but you want like at least the base of it to hold a bit of truth or a bit of reality to it.
That's why I really liked 1917.
Yeah, that was an amazing film.
Was an amazing film. Just following one cast, his journey of getting that information.
Like, I will say that, like, there's a few scenes that are like, okay.
Yeah.
But, like, it does a pretty good job otherwise.
It really does. It does. I feel like really good storytelling in that point of, and then it's just like the direction and the approach that they put into that movie.
Yeah.
Even the background score is very nice as well. So
you can't really expect anything less from, was it a Christopher Nolan's?
No. You're thinking of Dunkirk.
That's Dunkirk. Sorry. That's my list for April. I'm not sure if you guys had any other movies that you want to discuss for April.
I had The Friend, which is Bill Murray and Naomi Watts, which just seems like kind of like a good-hearted, sad story of like she's friends with this Bill Murray character and he passes away, but he has this huge dog. He's like in his will, he's like, wants her to look after it and she doesn't want to. So it seems like a journey with her and kind of like losing her friend and this dog. So I'm like, it seems like a bit of a wholesome, sad story, because I love Bill Murray and Naomi Watts. So I'm like, it could be an interesting film to kind of just enjoy on the side.
Yeah. And this is just my personal take, but Bill Murray has been in a lot of movies where he died. So he was in French Dispatch where he passed away. Yeah. In this movie, he passed away again.
Yeah. He is old. And I will say, he did, I don't know if you guys heard the quote, but someone asked him, I think he was on a podcast, and someone was like, who's the best person you ever worked with? And he literally said an elephant. So that's like a shot at anyone that's worked with Bill Murray.
Of course. No, I mean, like, I'm always have a soft spot for, feel-good movies. This movie's got a Great Dane. Yeah. Great looking dog, actually.
That's what I meant for it. I'm just in for the dog.
Just for the dogs.
That's it.
But it seems sweetheart. That's what I was like, this kind of like, it might be a nice film to enjoy.
Have you been following Naomi Watts' career? I think she was in Mulholland Drive with David Lynch, and then I haven't seen her in any other movies.
I think she's been a bit all over the place, but like she's a good actress. That's why I was like, oh, this could be like a fun film.
Okay.
Her and the dog.
That's it. Small cast.
Yeah. Okay.
What other movies that you guys are expecting in April?
I think we covered most of the ones that I wanted to watch, and I got a few more interesting ones that I will definitely add to my list as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll jump through a couple. Then there was The Accountant too that's meant to come out in April.
Yeah.
Yes.
Forgot
I haven't
about
seen the
that.
first one, so I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the trailer. I'm like, ugh. It seems very kind of cookie cutter, like action spy
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh, I'm not watching this.
I watched snippets of the first one, and people were giving Ben Affleck some praises because he was portraying someone with autism.
Okay.
And of course, because he has such a great brain, he became the accountant for all the criminal organizations, as you do. And then he trained in sniping, shooting, martial arts. And I think in the first movie, people liked it because it's not a typical action movie where the hero
It's
knows
like
how
a bit of a twist, right?
Yeah, so he's not a good guy. He's a bit of an anti-hero, and he's doing all
yeah.
these things. But I think when he gets to the second part, I think it's just becoming another generic.
From the trailer, that's what it
Yeah.
seemed like. When I was watching it, I did feel a bit more cookie cutter. Not that I would. Like I said, I haven't watched the original anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I watched the trailer of the Accountant 2, I was like, oh, Ben Affleck finally took off the cowl and put on the glasses. Okay, because he used to play Batman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's always good to see Ben Affleck in, like the roles that,
He might enjoy a bit more.
yeah. But I think he's got more talent in directing. Like, I'm not sure if you guys have seen his movie Argo. So it's just won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay.
Yeah.
And that story is amazing. And then it's like,
And Good Will Hunting, they did a lot of like him and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Matt Damon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did a
Matt
lot of
Damon.
work for that as well.
Yes.
So they definitely have like ideas for it. But so yeah, it's always interesting. But like I said, this just seems like a bit generic.
Well, he needs to make money somehow. Especially with the
Yeah,
divorce
he's getting
coming.
through another
Oh,
divorce.
no.
Another one. Yeah. But it's for a different episode.
There's another film, Sinners, with Michael B. Jordan.
Oh yes, I was going to
I was
talk about
kind of
that
like
as well.
interested in, but it's like another horror thriller film.
It's a zombie horror thing.
What's your take on zombie and like the end of the world
Yeah.
and shooting zombies? And I think this one has a bit of a religious idea in it as well.
Yes,
Yeah, it's-
yes, and it's to do with Black history as well. So I think there's a lot of like heritage and history combined with elements of thriller, just like zombies coming in and like.
Yeah.
So I think from my understanding, Michael B. Jordan's playing two characters, two
Yeah.
twins. So I really want to see how he pulls that off as well, because he, as an actor, I feel like he has a really good growth curve. Like I really enjoy some of his movies as well, and some of his movies were actually talking about the African American experience and portraying characters that actually did a lot for the movement as well. So I'm looking forward to that aspect. Like I really look forward to his movies these days. For me, I did enjoy a few of the zombie movies. I would say I think two stands out to me, Train to Busan, because
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
really good. The way the movie was paced, characters, acting, storyline, everything was perfect. And also World War Z, because it had like this element of the zombies being so fast, like instead of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a really refreshing pace. And I was really into, I was really into zombie movies back then. So I was like, okay, I need to watch all of the movies. But then those are the two movies that actually like stood out to me.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
I think the zombie genre has been exploited quite a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the peak, kind of like the
Yeah,
early,
exactly.
like late 2000s, early 2010s, kind of like through that Walking Dead
Yeah.
era. Everyone's like, oh, we got to make like our zombie movie now, and you're like, ugh,
Another one.
another
Another
one.
one.
Yeah.
And it's just the same premise, just zombies attacking and them trying to survive. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of like creative room to just make it into a very unique story
Yeah.
from there.
From my perspective, like the one of the attractions of the zombie genre, it's not just about you killing monsters.
Yeah.
It's about exploring humanity and what we would do in the post-apocalyptic world,
Yes.
right? But I think over time they just ran out of those stories and just like about people surviving and killing zombies. You know, like some of the spin-off of the genre, like Zombieland, where they making fun of the genre.
Zombieland is a good one.
Yeah.
So like those things, I was like, okay, this is a fresh take. But any other generic, like a group of survivors trying to, you know, kill zombies and then get to a certain point and find a cure, it's like super generic. Well, I guess it's a good time for me to plug in a Vietnamese zombie movie as well. So we've had the first one made in the history,
Yeah.
and unfortunately it's not a good one. But you know, I have to applaud the effort, you know, because it's like the first zombie movie that we made. Still a long way to go, but you know, it's a step in the right direction. So any other movies? I have another honorable mention, which is Freaky Tales. I'm not sure if you guys seen the trailer.
Yeah, I watched the trailer.
Yeah. So it's got Pedro Pascal and Tom Hanks.
Oh yeah. Oh, now I remember.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I watched the trailer and I had no idea what the movie is about. So I was like, okay, I guess I would.
Because it said it was like an anthology. I think it's kind of like trying to do the Pulp Fiction thing, where it's
Yes,
like
yeah.
all these different stories all kind of like connecting together. But
It's not directed by Quentin Tarantino though, so
no feet shots. Is that what you're saying?
damn it. I was looking forward to it. Cool. And I guess we can move on to the.
There was one more talking about video games. Until Dawn.
Oh yeah.
They're making that into a film, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah. I remember my brother used to play that game a lot. Yeah.
Because I watched the trailer, the only trailer they have at the moment, and it's not like a copy of the original game, but the idea of the games essentially is like being stuck in a world where it
Yes.
kind of keeps you got to make the right choices so people survive, and like I think they kind of like fail and then relive it and then do it again. So it talking about like, you know, Edge of
Groundhog
Tomorrow
Day,
kind of
yeah.
stuff, Groundhog Day. I think it's going to be in that kind of vein, but doesn't have like many big names or anything behind it. But I think it's just more of the idea. But I'm still kind of interesting to see what it is. I'm always a bit wary of like video game adaptions, but
Yeah.
I am interested to see where it
Yeah.
goes.
I read the premise of the video game as well. So you're playing as all the characters in the group, and it depends on what you decide. It may affect the
Yes.
survival of the group.
Yeah.
But when I watched the trailer, I was like, "Yep, this is Groundhog Day. This is Happy Death Day. This is pretty much like you're reliving the same day over and over again. You're trying to find a killer."
Because that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, how do you capture that in a movie of like making a choice and then how it goes and then like maybe going back and doing it a different way? Like, it's hard to like redo that like in like, you know, in film. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of take that in and recapture it. Because that's why I think of like Edge of Tomorrow. That's like the idea of like dying and then coming back and trying to do something different, right? So that's why I like it'll be interesting to see how it goes, but that's what I mean. I'm always a bit wary of these films.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it has a big budget or anything, but I'm always interested to see how it goes.
And what is your take on this style movie, like where you know like the same day happens over and over again?
Oh yeah. I think from my memory, I think Edge of Tomorrow is like the thing that pops up because I think
Yeah.
that was the genre. I mean, like that was the film that actually revolutionized this concept, I guess,
Yeah.
in box office. If you think about it, yeah, I think it's interesting, but it's not my favorite trope. I would say,
That's fair.
yeah, but it's it's interesting. It's just like a really good it's just like a very refreshing take to go to whenever you just need a break from all of the movies that you and genres that you're interested in. But yeah, I haven't watched a lot of those films. So
Well,
probably I might look into it.
Yeah, I was going to even say, because there isn't really that many. Because I remember I was
Yeah.
looking it up and I'm like, oh, there's not really a big genre for it. Like Edge of Tomorrow is kind of like set like a
Yeah.
good standard. But no, it's funny that no one's tried to recapture this.
Yeah.
Or even try to like milk it a bit. Like I haven't seen any other film where it's like, oh, he comes back and dies and keeps coming back. Like they haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
There's an Amazon Prime movie. It's a rom-com, I think.
Yeah, with,
Okay.
with Andy Samberg, right?
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, if you want to watch a really good movie that represents this concept, watch Groundhog Day.
Groundhog
I
Day,
think that's where it started.
Oh,
and then,
yes,
and,
yeah.
and when you're
That's-
saying they
it's
start
like a
milking
classic.
it, no, they are
Yeah.
milking it, but it's hard to capture that magic because when I watch Groundhog Day with Bill Murray,
Is he in it?
Yeah, he's in it. But I think it's just a very very cool concept, and it's not just. It's not just plays around with, like how you make different choices. But it's about like how to become a better person.
Yes, exactly.
Which I think is
That's,
great.
I think that's more of the message in that one as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the idea is kind of the way to push through your story. And I think that's when it's good. Like we talk about zombie movies, it's like it's not about the zombies, it's how you use it to push your story,
Yeah,
right?
correct. Mickey 17 is also
Well, that's what I was thinking.
a
But
style.
we haven't watched that yet, so
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Well, we're hoping it's good, but we didn't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Cool. Any other movies that you guys want to
I'm happy to
mention
jump
for
in
April?
unless there's anything else.
No,
May?
we can-
All right, let's
yes.
move on to
May
May.
we?
Do you want to start first, Jigme? Have you got movies in May that you are very interested in?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to Karate Kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're starting with Karate Kid.
yeah,
Okay.
starting with Karate
Love
Kid.
Jackie Chan's work. Grew up watching a lot of Chinese kung fu movies, so it always has a really soft spot in my heart. And I think like the theme of perseverance, discipline, I really resonate to that because I grew up watching a lot of those films. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then like, what do you say? So I think it's an amalgamation of Karate Kid and then Cobra Kai. Is what I hear.
definitely.
I haven't watched Cobra Kai.
Neither
But
have I.
yeah, but I did grow up watching Jaden Smith's Karate Kid.
Yeah.
That was like our generation because we didn't watch the old Karate Kid because it was pretty back then. But yeah, we grew up watching Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. I want to see how that plays out now.
No,
Well, that's
great.
even what I was thinking. Like, are they going to bring Jaden Smith back? I'm pretty sure they're just going to forget about the character. There'll be like a throwaway line.
There might be like a
like a cameo.
cameo or
I
something.
don't, maybe, but is he going to? I don't know if you saw. I don't know what. It might have been the Grammys, but he wore the house on his head.
Oh yeah.
He's starving for attention. I'm like, oh my god, boy!
Yeah.
Don't you want to be left alone?
Yeah.
Don't you not want more attention?
I mean, like
Anyway, we're not talking about James.
yeah, we're already talking about Jaden Smith.
Yeah.
But when I watched the trailer, I was like, okay, so they are trying to combine a lot of different storylines. So they're going to bring the mentor from the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith, and they are bringing back Daniel LaRusso
Yes.
Yeah,
with Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
So
I think it'll be interesting.
and then the new Karate Kid is played by Ben Wang.
Yes.
And I think that he's very athletic, and apparently
Yeah.
he trains in Kung Fu as
Yes,
well. So
yeah.
that's one thing that we can expect with this movie. A lot of beautiful Kung Fu
Well, that's what I was
scenes.
trying to think. I haven't watched a good kung fu film in a long time.
That is true. Me too.
'Cause
I
I
really
even-
hope it lives up.
Because that early 2000s era, even 90s, that's like kung fu
So
films are the
good,
biggest
my
thing.
goodness, yes.
'Cause especially when you think about Jackie Chan, he was like in every movie. Even if it
Yeah.
was bad, at least you know his action would be good.
Yes.
He'd be jumping off something or find somebody,
Yeah.
spinning a bucket on his head or doing something stupid where you're
That's
like,
true.
he'd
That
just
is
be like,
true.
why are you doing this?
And I'm not sure if you explore his Hong Kong movie career as well. So he's made like more than 200 movies in Hong Kong before
my
he
God.
broke into the Hollywood.
I've seen
with
some of
Rush
his
Hours.
early stuff, like
Yeah.
very early stuff. I watched some of that because they'd have the same people in it.
Yeah,
It was
I know,
funny.
I know.
It literally looked like they filmed a film. It's like, oh, we've got the next one in. Let's go again.
It's the same person.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if he's the dad,
Yeah.
he's still gonna be the dad
he's
for
a
the
villain.
next movie.
He's a villain in the next one,
Yes.
but you're going to be the brother now.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
it's
it's-
funny. I'm like, they're literally just
Yeah.
like, someone just got a camera and it's like, oh shit, let's go.
It's true. That is true.
But you know, like when I watched the older movies with Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
I was like, man, like I can't believe that he made these movies with minimal protection and safety and things like that. as
He
well.
broke a lot of bones apparently.
Well, that's what I mean. Even in like when he was in Hollywood, though, he was still doing a lot of those
Yes.
stunts, like just by himself, that were like crazy. The one I remember was it like he ties the rope around himself
Yes.
and like twirls down the
Yeah,
side of the
yeah,
building,
yeah.
and I'm like,
He'd never do that.
yeah.
And one of the things that I don't like about the American adaptation of Jackie Chan movies is they have too many cuts. Like, if you pay attention to his
Well,
older
that's-
movies,
that's
just cut
very-
all the action.
That's very Hollywood kind of
Yeah.
Yes.
action.
Doesn't need to though.
Yeah, they just
That's
want to
why-
focus on the details. Like, you know, if
Yeah.
he's punching, they want to focus on the punch. But with
And it takes away from the action a
Exactly,
lot.
because like usually old Chinese kung fu movies, one take, the camera just panning with the
Just
actor.
following along. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Yes, that's like the best way to showcase action, in my opinion.
But we ain't got time for that.
Yeah, apparently.
Or the budget.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's usually what. Well, I don't even know if it's a budget. I think it's more time because, like, you got to get the choreography right.
Yes,
so it might take a
exactly.
few takes and a lot of work to get it done. Because that's what when you notice it in the film, when it's like usually limited takes and it's very close up and following the action, it feels just like, oh, this is great. Like we think of, I don't know if you've ever watched The Old Boy,
Yeah.
the one in the corridor. That corridor scene's insane. That's like one of the
Yeah.
one of the better scenes, but like. like you said, I think Hollywood they just like, we've got enough cuts. We'll just
let's make it happen.
Yeah.
No, but that fight scene in the corridor, man, this is one of the best one take I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I heard so many raves about it before I watched the movie as well. But when I watched it, it's like, it's actually going on longer than I thought.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still going. Okay.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of one of the interviews that Jackie Chan did. So in one of his earlier movies, he did this one action where he spin the fan.
Throw the fan and coming back for one shot. More than 120 tick.
And then, people asking him, how did you train it so well? And he was like, no, I'm not very good at it. It took me 270 takes to get it back. To just get that one action right.
Yeah.
You can imagine all the other choreography that he had to do for the movie as well. And he said, if you want to get something right, you just keep doing it again.
Well, that's kind of like the mantra for like kung fu stuff.
Yes,
you kind of like
exactly.
keep doing
That's
an
true.
action over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like taking the jacket off,
Yeah.
putting on.
Oh, yeah, okay. I like that. Yeah. And wax on, wax
Wax
off.
on,
Yes.
wax off.
I mean, this movie
He's like,
will-
no, that wasn't. I just wanted a clean car, mate.
Oh, that's so funny. So what do you guys expect from this new Karate Kid?
I feel like it's basically playing into the old Karate Kid movie, where Jaden Smith moves from the United States to China, and like it's a different world there. Have to get used to it. So they're bringing this kid from China to the US to give him like the immigrant experience, I guess. So I think
fish out of water
yeah,
experience.
exactly, fish out of water experience. So just want to see how they play it out and if they address like a few of those like issues or like social, just like just like
Racism?
growing pains. Yeah,
Already. Well, like that's like
just
it'd be-
life different. Yeah,
it's
just,
usually that's the story. It's like the young kid that gets bullied and is underappreciated, and he comes and he finds a karate teacher. It's like, I've got to train up to find myself better. Then the villain's the other guy at the end,
Yes.
like the guy that was bullying me the whole time. But that's what I mean. There's a lot there to be used, so it'd be
Yes.
interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah. And I'm most looking forward to the fight scene with Jackie Chan and Daniel.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
In
It'd
the
be
trailer,
fun.
they were fighting back to back.
Yeah.
I was
And,
like,
and it's funny to think that Daniel's the older karate kid, really, because Jackie Chan came into it later. So he's technically meant to be the proper karate kid.
Let's see. Well, I will be very surprised.
I'm just surprised they made a film. That's why I'm like, they made a film out of it. A kind of nice surprise.
Yeah, but I'm just hoping that Jackie Chan doesn't hurt himself.
I'm sure he did nothing
Yeah,
that he couldn't
probably
like
not,
handle.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Another movie that you're looking forward to in May. My one is The Life of Chuck. So this movie is a bit of a surprise for me because it doesn't get a lot of promotion just yet. But this movie is an adaptation of a Stephen King's work.
okay.
And it's being directed by Mike Flanagan, starring Tom Hiddleston, Mark Hamill, Karen Gilligan, Nick Offerman. The big cast. And I would try to not to butcher this name, but Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and based on this movie, I found out that Stephen King's books is one of the most adapted
Yes.
books of
Yeah, I was
all
going to
time.
say.
Yeah.
I was going to say he has a movie every month.
Yes, he has a book as well.
Yeah, because The Monkey's based on him as well.
Yes.
Stephen King as well. That's
Yeah.
why I was looking. I'm like, mate, he's just like movie deals coming out of the wazoo. Apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is why R.R. Martin hates him so much.
Yeah. Well, he's doing all right for himself. I
Yeah.
don't think he's got anything.
It's like I think during one of the interviews he said this guy he writes like 4 pages per
Takes
day.
me 12 years.
Now, so based on the statistics, I think Stephen King got more than 80 films and TV adaptations, and many
Not
of them,
surprised, yes.
many of them got like really good responses from the
Yes.
audience. So you got Shawshank, you got Green Mile,
Yes.
Carrie, Mystery, The Shining. Like the list goes on and
Yeah,
on and on.
it's a long list.
Yeah. So, we have a good chance this movie will turn out great as well. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
And now, one of the things that I like about this movie is it actually tells the story in a reverse order. So similar to Benjamin Button in a way. So
Yes.
it will start out from the last days of the character and then you move backward to his childhood, which I think is a very interesting idea. And got a good cast, a good actor. The director has already adapted Stephen King's books
Yeah,
before.
I saw the
Yes,
directing. I'm
that's-
like, he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He does Is it Sleep Doctor or
Dr. Sleep.
Doctor Sleep? Yeah, I didn't mind that with Ewan McGregor.
It's kind of his turf, so I think
Yeah,
he knows
yeah.
what he's doing.
So, yeah.
yeah.
he's already adapted a few.
Yeah. After researching these movies, I noticed that a lot of these movies they premiere during the festivals. Quite a few of them premiere in Toronto.
Yes.
So it's a big
Film
one.
Festival.
Yeah.
So it's time to go to Toronto, you reckon?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, if we don't premiere anything, then why would we go to Toronto?
It's nice. It might be expensive.
Well, you know that we have a movie festival in Melbourne.
Yeah, a bit cheaper. Not as far as Toronto.
Yeah. And it's still recognized as Oscar
Oh, really?
qualifying as well. So if you qualify for this movie festival, you can apply for the Oscar.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, in Melbourne. There's none in Sydney.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh,
Take that.
Any other movies that you guys want to discuss for May?
What do you think about Mission Impossible?
Yeah, I would watch that
The
as well.
Final Reckoning,
Yeah.
really?
Is
The
it the
final
one-
one? Is
is
it
it-
the final one,
That's what I'm
really?
like, is this it? Is this it? I
Are
don't
you
think
sure?
so. Yeah, I'm like, I don't think so.
You know that when I watched on IMDb and they came over this movie and I said, okay, I want to know what the log line is. It just says this is the 8th installation of the franchise.
Yeah. And then when I watched the trailer and they were talking about the final a lot, and I'm like, is it though? Is this the end?
Are you sure? I don't trust it.
Tom Cruise didn't fall off that plane he was doing the stunt on, so I think he's going to do another one.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of running. There'll be a lot of Tom Cruise running.
Yeah.
But are you a fan of the franchise, Jigme?
I think I was a fan of the first few movies, but then the franchise just extended, and then I just lost interest in it altogether because it's the same thing all over again. Him getting missions that are
Impossible.
impossible, and then
apparently not.
making it possible, and then still surviving. So it's the same premise, but I think with this movie, I think because it's the final reckoning, there's gonna be a lot of like a huge PR push as well. So probably that might actually bring people back into the cinemas. But yeah, usually like it's mostly what do you say? It's for a very male eyes, I guess. The
Male
movie,
audience, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
male audience.
Yeah.
So let's see how this goes. I do like a really good action, but like I just have lost so much track. I haven't watched what is going on in the storyline.
I haven't watched the last one, and that's why I was thinking, I'm like, oh, what was even the last one? Because they had like the new 3 ones, and I watched those and I enjoyed those. But that's why I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I don't even know where Mission Impossible is even at anymore. Because the one with Henry Cavill, if you watched anyone, that's a very good one to watch. But
Is it Ghost Protocol? Is
I
that?
think so. You could be right.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. Like, it feels to me that they are trying to catch up with the Fast and Furious franchise. They just keep making movies.
What are they up to? Like,
Yeah,
10?
I literally don't know. I literally don't know.
No,
but-
Fast X.
I would say I would rather watch a Mission Impossible movie than I'd watch a Fast and Furious movie. They're just like,
It's not about racing anymore.
I can't. Was it like 5 or 6? There was one where he drove like a car into another building from another building, and I'm like, this is too much for me now.
It's not about cars. It's about
Yeah.
family.
I don't have friends. I got family.
No.
Yeah, exactly. It's about family. I'm like, that's where you
I
lost
love
me.
it.
But
Oh my
I'm
God.
kind of interested. But like I said, I wonder if it is the final one, but I doubt it.
I feel like these movies are just excuses for Tom Cruise just to learn a new skill.
Yeah, or just flying off a plane or jumping a bike over a ravine
Yeah, I
or
think that's
something.
like a very big selling point for the movies as well because he actually does his own stunts.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh my God, we should go and watch Tom Cruise do all the stunts.
Will he die this time and record it on film?
Yes.
Because I feel like he would have a thing in his contract. He's like, if I die doing a stunt, put it through the film. Like, we're doing it.
Yeah. And he's the American Jackie Chan.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, we're
Yeah.
just talking about
Pretty
Jackie
good.
Chan. And we
Yes.
talked to Tom Cruise, who's just like obsessed with doing like a weird stunt. Not a
Yeah.
weird stunt, but doing them.
And I think during one of the interviews, he said that he's got like 25 pilot licenses. He knows how to
Yeah.
ride most of the vehicles on land or something like that. I think he's trying to learn how to get into a submarine or something like
God.
that.
How
All
can
those
he-
weird
what will
things.
be the submarine stunt? That will be the next film.
Opening the door? I don't know.
Mission Impossible Under the Sea.
See, yeah.
You'll see. You see it. No, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, I want to follow a good story first. I like a good action movies like The Next Guy, but like when you watch John Wick, for example, when
Yeah.
you get to the third movie, it's like, I think they're really pushing it now. You know?
Well, I was
Yeah.
going to say they've even got the spin-off now. Is it Ballerina?
Ballerina.
Yeah.
It's coming out in June with Ana de Armas. I'm not sure how well she would do in an action genre.
Because I don't know if you watched. There was one on Netflix. I can't remember the name. She was with Ryan Gosling. I can't remember what it was called, but it was by the Russo brothers directed it.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was a pretty below average film.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like,
it
oh,
was-
because I wanted to watch it. I'm like, oh, these two actors and actresses I like. And then I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is boring.
Are you talking about Ghosted with?
No.
That's an action movie as well with
might
Captain
be-
America.
it might
Oh,
be
sorry,
another
we're not
boring.
Captain America. Chris Evans.
Chris Evans.
Yeah, but Anna de Armas plays a spy in that movie. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in her playing in an action movie. She just doesn't have that action face like who's the actress who plays in Resident Evil, Mila Jovovich. Yeah, she has an action face.
Does she?
I think so.
I think it's just her husband puts her in these movies.
Well, she's in another one with Dave Bautista.
Yeah, imagine
In the Last
that.
Stand, yeah.
And it's guess who's directed by? Her husband.
Okay, I take it back.
Just get married to an action director, Darren. That's the trick.
But do you want to be in action movies though?
Well, if he's like, hey, I got another one. You want another cool $10 million? Sure. I'm in.
Okay. Any other movies that you guys are looking for in May?
We haven't talked about a Marvel movie yet.
Ooh, what was the name of the
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts? Yeah.
So it's a Suicide Squad for Marvel.
Yeah.
All the evil guys coming together.
How do you feel about this movie?
To be honest, I'm just like pretty disappointed at how movies are going right now with Marvel. I watched Captain America.
You watched it?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I watched it. That also on Valentine's Day.
What a Valentine's movie.
Watched it. And then that was the first movie where they did not use the official Marvel, opening scene.
Yeah.
So that just messed my entire...
It ruined it from the
It
get-go.
just, I went to the cinemas just to get a feeling of that again. And then that was not there. It just like, there was like a Marvel fade and then the movie just starts. And I didn't even know the movie started.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, when is the Marvel thing going to pop up? And it just didn't happen. But I feel like Mackie, he kind of did a really good job with the script that he was given. But the CGI has gone very, very down again with Marvel, which is
That's
very
what I
sad.
mean. That's what I was worried about as well, because I'm like, it's going to rely a lot on CG in this film.
Yeah,
I feel
but the
like it's
CGI
gonna-
is not even that good anymore.
that's what
it
I
just
mean.
looks like it looks like CGI, and CGI
Yeah.
should not look like CGI.
That's the point. Like, it's meant to like not take you out of the film. It's meant to help you draw you in.
Yeah.
But I feel like in Marvel movies they use it a bit too much at times.
Yeah.
I feel
That is
Yeah.
true. And with the new one, I'm not sure how this is gonna play out.
Yeah.
Probably it might, because the casting is pretty strong. And but it all depends on the story now at this point. Just because the movie has really good casting does not really guarantee its
Yeah, it doesn't,
success.
yeah.
No.
even though it does, I did watch a trailer and it does seem to be more. It's going to be an action thriller film, not quite the big grandiose Marvel usually
Yeah,
deal with.
yeah.
But the other thing I think with Marvel does hard, like it's got a lot of characters people might know of. Like you might know two, like the main two people, even if you can call them that, and a lot of them are from like side series that have like come into this. So that's why that's why I feel like I mightn't find any success, because they might notice the main actress because they've seen her in other films. And if anyone ever watched, what was she in? She was in the
Florence Pugh, right?
Florence
yeah,
Pugh,
Yeah, so she's
no,
in
but I
two-
mean in the other Marvel movie, she was in the Scarlet. She was in Black,
Black
Widow,
Widow.
right?
Black Widow,
Yeah.
yeah.
So she was the only one maybe that was in like a big film, and the other ones were in like side shows.
Yes.
Or so I feel like it'll be hard for people to be like, oh, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? I don't remember seeing these people.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see if they reintroduce these characters or just like, here you go.
Yeah, that is true. And I think with Marvel, with them, them going on Disney Plus and then making all of those like
Yeah,
series,
there's a lot of shows.
It just put everyone in a spiral, because we were used to just having one movie or two movies come out a year. That was what the entire fandom was
But at
about.
least they would play into each other as well.
Exactly.
When you've got this TV series as well, that's what I felt bad for Andrew Mackie, because he's kind of his brought up was through a TV show.
Yeah.
I never watched it. I
Yes.
heard it was fine, but that's like what I mean. Like people would go into the new Captain America and like, what's going on here?
Exactly.
And it's like I've missed 10 hours of content that I was meant to
Yes.
watch on Disney Plus.
Just like overload of information. And then also at the same time, yes, the Marvel universe is complicated in the comics itself, but just the execution of the series also just the quality of the series just went down because they were producing so many series, like 3-4 series a
they'll
year.
more worry about getting a lot out there than it being up to a quality.
Exactly.
Because I think that's what people expected at least from
Yeah.
Marvel. I was never a big Marvel fan, but I'm like, at least it was a fun. I'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
But now it's like even lost that bit. I can't just sit there and be like, ugh, I
Yeah,
gotta
it
roll
was an
my eyes
experience.
all the time.
Exactly. It was an experience just waiting for the movie to come
Yeah.
out, going
Yeah.
into the theaters to watch it.
Yeah. And I think that when, I still remember that in the year 2012 or 11, when the Adventures first came out, it was the big thing in Vietnam. People were like, oh my God, the Adventures is out. We have been watching every single movie leading up to that movie. And then when it came out, people were like, yeah, this is it. They were dressing up, they were going to the movie, got friends. But I think after that, like how many big stories line like can you really produce over
There's
time,
a
right?
lot in Marvel. Like,
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of shit that happens, and then they also they restart again.
Yes.
So I think that's what Marvel is trying to do. What Marvel movies are trying to do is trying to reset and like bring in all these new heroes and villains. But it's tough when you haven't done it in the films.
Yes,
a lot of it has
exactly.
been in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been following that content, you're going to be very shocked if you go in and watch a film and be like,
Yeah.
who are half of these people? And especially if they don't introduce them or give them a little bit of a story.
Yeah.
Even that hurts the film as well, because if you're spending half an hour introducing 20 characters,
Yes.
people are going to be like, what?
Yeah, that is true.
So it's like a hard thing, because I feel like I didn't enjoy them, but that's what they got right. It's like, they did Iron Man,
Yep.
Thor, Captain America.
Yep.
They still introduce people into Avengers, but you've got your main core, you know who you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
And then even dealing with Loki as well, like someone you know as well,
Yeah.
and you kind of understand. It like makes sense, but in these films, you're like,
Here
so
you
much
go.
going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's like, oh, have you watched the 12 series you needed to understand this film? It's like, what?
Yeah. So, and speaking of Captain America, I think they were trying to capture the magic from the Winter Soldier. I think that's why they removed the opening sequence, because this is not going to be another Marvel graphic novel movie. It's going to be an action movie with thrilling storyline. But
Yeah, the storyline was not like, I think the storyline could have been better. Like it was just president, what do you say? He's in danger. They find like a new element. They want to share it with the world, but they're trying to find out diplomatic ways on how to do it. And then just like the super soldiers attack him, and then that's just how the story rolls in. So it was not a captivating storyline. So I feel like probably we might need a little bit more Marvel movies and probably get the Avengers going again. That is when I think the movies will start picking up.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what they're trying to do,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if anyone understands who the Avengers are now.
Yeah, it's
So
very
that'll be the
unclear.
other thing,
It's
right?
very unclear because even in that movie, everyone's like, "Oh, now Captain America is working for the president of the United States." Like, how does that work? So that was a very interesting element as well. But I really do like the play where Sam Wilson, Captain America, the new Captain America, he is not a super soldier. He
No,
is
no,
just
he's
a normal person with like a high grade suit.
Just
Yes. So
got a lot of backing.
Yes, exactly. So he does really play into this movie was basically trying to look into his perspective of him being Captain America and if he's actually deserving of being Captain America. And it actually plays really well into it. And I think it was just like the ground rock of just setting up his character to becoming Captain America.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that movie was for. But overall story, pretty mid.
And I'm not sure you guys heard about this, but with the new Avengers movies, they got RDJ to come back to play
Doctor Doom.
and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's just going to be, they're just like they said, because they've been struggling. So
Yeah.
they're trying to find a way to like ping people back. And they're like, oh, let's bring him back and see how it goes. But we'll see how we go. Because they've got the Fantastic Four. I think, is that the next film that's coming
with
out?
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. But
Yes.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Should we move on from Marvel? Is there
Yes.
nothing out of Marvel?
Yeah. Another horror movie that's just coming out in May.
Is it the
I'm
final
really-
one?
The final one? What
The
do you mean?
Final Destination?
No, it's not that one.
Damn, that would have been a
That's
good
not that one.
segue. I was trying.
I mean, if you want to talk about it,
No,
we can
we're
talk
doing
about
it last.
Yeah,
The final one.
The final one.
Okay, the movie I'm looking forward to is Bring Her Back. It's a very small horror movie. So this is directed by the twin brother, Danny and Michael Philippou, but they are more well known as Raka on YouTube. So very big YouTube channel, big YouTubers with nearly 7 million subscribers. And they got famous for their horror comedy content. One of the most famous ones was the McDonald's clown got into the house with people and they were eating Hungry Jack's burgers.
How dare they?
Oh yeah, so it started like that, and they got another few videos with Harry Potter versus Star Wars.
Okay.
So yeah, and now they started directing feature movies, and they did one in 2022, produced and distributed by A24, The Talk to Me, and it was a really big success because the movie was made on a $4.5 million budget. And it generated $92.2 million at the box office. So now they are directing another one. They are from Adelaide, South Australia, so we can claim them. So they are Australian directors.
Nice.
But actually, we were talking about this before. All the talented people, they have to travel somewhere else.
Well, that's what I mean. To get, like we said, get money to produce the films, they need to be in America, essentially.
Yeah. And so this movie is quite interesting. It's about a brother and a sister uncovering a ritual in their secluded home. Of course, it has to be a secluded home.
Well, it's not scary. It's like it's a house full of people.
They discover a dark past of their new foster mother, and a very typical horror movie. But when I watch the trailer, it's very interesting because it reminds me of Long Legs. It has a lot of symbols, a lot of rituals. That is something that's quite interesting. In the
It is
horror
quite.
movie.
I don't know if it'll be the same kind of deal, but it was very creepy. I remember I watched the trailer. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. Have you seen the trailer, Jigme?
No, I have not.
I was surprised when I watched the trailer because when I watch a horror movie trailer, I thought, there'll be a lot of monsters, there'll be loud noises. But this one, they did it to the beat. And I was like, this is something different. It's very refreshing. And, it's always good to see an Australian director do well in Hollywood. And obviously they know how to attract audience with their massive following. We were discussing this because one of the hottest Vietnamese directors at the moment, he started out as an MC. He racked up a big following and now he's directing movies and all his fans just go and flood the cinema just to watch his work. And I think this might become the new formula for directors now. You don't...
Well, I think it's even for acting as well. I saw an article come out the other day. I can't remember who it was, where they're like, they ask you about your following now. So they want people that have got ton of people like following on Insta. They probably want like huge TikTok because they want them. That's how they know how they bring people in. It used to just be like, they're just a successful actor. Now it's like, no, you've got to have all this following behind you now as well. It's not so simple anymore.
And you will see that trend happening with well-known actors as well. Before that, them from the movies, but now you see them more active on social media.
Exactly.
On X, on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever. Ryan Reynolds is a good example of this. He's everywhere, right? So now, even though his movies might not be good or his acting might not be good, but he just got a huge following.
Because I think
visibility as well.
he's done that for a long time. Even he's maybe like the archetype of it, right?
Yeah.
Like getting popular doing like memes or even selling funny things, which is like it builds it up a bit, and then people are like, he's like a lovable, likable guy, and then when they watch these films, they enjoy it more because like, I love Ryan Reynolds, and it's like, look at him go.
It's like influencer culture is like basically inculcating into all
it's
aspects of life.
Every
now.
aspect
yes,
of life.
Exactly. When it comes to selling products,
Politics.
Already. Yeah.
Policies, selling products, policies, anything you name it.
Crazy.
But what do you think about this trend, Jigme? Because you grow up watching a lot of movies with actors and actresses, and you see them like quite limited actually, and you have this kind of expectation about them. Oh, these are just like the deities of the cinema world. You're not in the same world. But now with the influencing trend, like you have access to them more than ever. You know what they're eating for dinner.
Everybody knows what they're doing.
Exactly. So what do you think about
the
this
tabloids
trend?
has kind of died a bit. Like that was the whole thing. It's like, read the magazine, but now you don't need now you don't need that.
That is true. I feel like with the entire movie watching experience as a viewer, I guess like putting actors on the pedestal actually does help with, with you wanting to watch the movie a lot. But with influencer culture, yes, as you said, we see them, we know what they're having for lunch, dinner, whatever, what they do, what their dogs' names are. It does help humanize them as well. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, I would say. It's beneficial in some sense, but also at the same time, do you really need to know what Ryan Reynolds' favorite like food to eat is? I don't know.
Because it is weird, because then you pry into every aspect of their life.
Exactly.
And all the bad stuff that comes out. Because I think,
yeah.
not that Brad Pitt was a part of it, but his divorce with...
that was still going on, I think. It's very rough.
It just finished not long
it's
ago,
finished.
the end of last year, but Brad Pitt's not a good dude.
Yeah, I know.
And that's like the aspect of like, I was never a huge Brad Pitt fan, but if I see him in a movie, I'm like, I really don't want to watch that because he's assaulted his wife. Like I don't want to like support that kind of person.
Yeah.
Because I think of a bigger guy, I don't know if Ezra Miller.
Oh,
he was like the king of
problematic.
he was like the king of that, but he still got a movie and it still came out.
And
So
then-
it doesn't matter. Like it's sad.
It is very sad, but it's again the debate of like, what do you say, separating the art from the artist.
Well, we think about like Kanye West, who literally tried to
like
sell.
J.K. Rowling as well.
Yeah, I like Kanye West's music, but I've even stopped listening to his music now because he's literally just insane.
Yeah.
And did you see when he was trying to sell the swastika as a t-shirt?
Yes, that was the only T-shirt available on his website.
Yeah, and I was like, I gave up like a long time ago with him, but now it's I'm like, oh my god,
new level.
How could you say you're a fan of Kanye West without thinking like, am I a Nazi?
Yeah.
Liking this guy?
Yeah, it's just like this entire, but I think this sphere has not been really talked about a lot, I guess.
No, yeah, because it is a weird thing to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Because it has everyone can react, and that's the other side of it. Everyone can react instantly from something bad happening, and be instantly like being like, and even attacking other people for liking them. They maybe not know the details.
Yes.
Be like, oh, listen to this new song. It's like, oh, that's a Kanye West song. You know, he's done this, and this, and this, and you're like, oh shit, like. It can be harder to like and follow someone because someone's going to just attack you to be like, you know, they left a biscuit on the thing. You can't like that guy anymore. And it's like, oh, really? Shit.
But I like his music.
Yeah, I
though,
like
you
his
know?
music though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like it's always good to have like influencers and like actors who have like really big following to actually be genuinely good human beings as well. Because I feel like they do
feel like
have the
that's-
responsibility.
And I think that's hard to find though.
Yes, it's
Because
very
that's why
hard
it's
to
hard
find.
sometimes. Like you said, people put them on a pedestal. I think it's
Yes.
sometimes good to just step back from it and not glorify them so much.
Exactly.
Because then when they go through bad shit, it's a bit more understands, like, oh, they're a person that maybe made a mistake. But it's like, how could they do this? Like there's some things that are okay, but obviously there's lines. But that's why it's interesting, especially how it affects films. Because that's what I mean. That's if you're like a producer / director looking for an actor and it's like, oh shit, they've got like 100 million people following them. Okay, they're in. And it's not for their like acting ability. It's a bit
Correct.
sad.
Correct.
Exactly.
And
That's true.
I was thinking about that when you said that it's a double-edged sword because, you know, one of the biggest movies that came out in Vietnam, for example, it doesn't have any big names. So the director was one of the most influential people in Vietnam. He's got like millions and millions of followers. And for this movie, he specifically selected people with a lot of followings.
Yeah.
So the two main actresses of the movie were the winners of the beauty pageants in Vietnam. So they got a lot of following already.
Interesting. Okay.
And you know the main actor, he's a model. You know, he's very good looking. So and then he's got so many cameos from the other people who had like other TV shows or massive following. So Tim was saying like, you know, they are selected for their following, not for their acting.
Exactly.
But the thing is, for me personally, it affects the story and it affects the movie a lot because then they don't have the acting capability to carry out the story. Yeah. Or you have to simplify the story to adapt to the acting as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
means that you're pretty much insulting the audience. Like this story is so simple. You know, like you pretty much the audience go to the cinema now just to see their favorite idols.
Yeah, that is true.
Doing some weird stuff on screen.
It really does affect viewership, especially with theater culture as well nowadays. People really don't want to go and watch movies because, to be honest, everyone's like, oh yeah, like, you know, the movies don't hit as it used to before. They're like, it's not as good as how it was before. And I feel like probably that's also a reason why it's not. Yeah.
It's like part of it, but it's also like old man yells at sky. Like there is good stuff out there.
Yeah.
It's just being willing to go watch it, right?
Yeah, that's
and I
true.
think that's the other aspect of people like the big blockbuster, and I think that's what people get stuck in. And then they're the blockbusters, the one that get coped in the most because they want the most people to watch them.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, why have they got all these people in? It's like, well, you know why they've got them all in. But should we move on to a different movie, Dan?
Sure. These are movies on my list for May. So The Life of Chuck, Karate Kid, and Bring Her Back. I'm not sure if you guys had any other movies
There was Hurry Up Tomorrow, another
Hurry Up Tomorrow.
Jenna Ortega movie. It was like and it's got The Weeknd in it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a musical movie, isn't it?
Yeah, he's like a
yeah.
musician, and then like this girl
Of course
comes
he's a
along.
musician. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you ever watched The Idol, but
I've heard stuff
yes.
about it.
Yeah. So I'm like, not like in it, like that's what I thought. I'm like, why is Weeknd doing like a film now? I'm like, I feel like he would have got enough backlash from that to be like, I'm going to leave it alone.
That entire
now.
series got a lot of backlash.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, I'm surprised he did a movie. And that's why I was like, you didn't have a good showing in that TV show. You're pretty terrible in that. And he's like, oh, now I'm just going to do a movie now. And I'm like, because he's big enough and he is like the biggest artist in the world for music. So it's like crazy that he's like, oh, no, I'm going to jump into film.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand that when you are successful in one field and you always try to, expand to other fields as well, But who knows? This movie might turn out good. But I watched the trailer. I was like, okay, The Weeknd is playing a musician. Sure.
Yeah. That's the thing as well. It's
Sure.
not like he's stretching out of his bounds. He's like, oh, he's going to be a creepy musician like he always is.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, again, this is the influential people, infiltrating the cinema.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They got the money for it.
We're literally just talking about it. They're like the guy with the influence. He's got a big audience already. So it's like, they probably might go watch his film, right?
Yep. And it's like, and at the end of the movie, it's like, this is my new live show. This is my new tour coming out. Come on.
I don't know if you'll need it for that much, but I mean, like, I feel like his music's more of an ad for his film.
Yeah.
Because there's already so many eyes on his music.
Yeah. And this reminds me of one of the things that I heard as well. So in this kind of industry, like the celebrities always have to remind the fans that they are there.
So,
exactly. Because like there will always be a hotter artist coming out tomorrow.
Yes.
So always have to say, oh, I'm in this movie now. I'm producing this movie. Oh, did you know that I directed this as well? So, people will always look to them to see what they're doing. And again, it takes us back to the influential trend. Now that the fans have access to their idols at all time. So they're always like, oh, what's next for them?
What's next? Rather than maybe waiting for like better content to come out. It's like,
what's next for them?
They want it now. And then when it's bad, then it's like, well, you yelling at them to get it out. So
yeah, but this is where I got the hope for the A24 movies because they don't really care about that stuff. They're like, oh, do you have a good story?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it seems like. They're just producing everything. They're just like, oh, we'll back you a bit, like if you need a bit of backing, because especially like a lot of their films aren't big budgets. They're not like $100 million movies.
I love that.
So it's
as
like
well.
it's in between like 5 to 10 million, like usually their range. And I think that means a lot because it's like something else to see at the theater rather than having to like go through streaming services and be like, hopefully they make a good film on there or something.
Yeah.
But should we move on to the final one,
Unless
Darren?
unless you have another movie.
No, we can directly go to the final.
The final destination.
Yay.
The Bloodlines. Yay. Final Destination.
So it's probably going to be stupid.
We're
You
gonna have
know that when we were watching The Monkey, it reminds me of The Final Destination.
That's what I was
telling you
thinking.
about this. Have you seen The
I
Monkey?
haven't watched it,
so
but the trailer looked really, really good. Yes.
So we won't spoil it for you.
Yeah.
But what can we expect from The Final Destination, The Bloodlines, Tim?
I don't know. I assume the same thing because they've got like the teaser trailer of the guy doing the tattoo.
Yeah.
And he gets like, it's like the classic thing, like one thing goes wrong leads to another. Because what was it? The thing gets like trapped in his nose and it's going to like wind around the fan. It's like, it doesn't show a lot, but it's just like, crazy deaths. Because that was like the whole deal of the, the old ones. It's like, wow, look at this weird death. It's like,
Yeah.
can it still capture audiences is the real thing though.
I still remember watching the first two Final Destinations and the second one scared the shit out of me. And I think it's not just about the weird deaths, but it's about the inevitability of it. You know, like when we were like, oh, there's something lurking in the darkness and there's nothing you can do to stop it. I think it's more horrifying than the actual deaths. And then I think they kind of lost that magic. So there's like, oh, how gory can we make the deaths? How creative can we kill people?
That is true. That is true. But I think we'll have like a new list of phobias after this, which is good.
Maybe. We'll see. Because I feel like there's been a lot of good horror movies. So it's like, can it even, I don't know if it's even going to care about that much, or it's just like, what's the most absurd death we can do next? Which
Whenever I see like escalators, I think about Final Destination. Whenever I see like a truck full of timber, Final Destination right there.
Yeah. I mean, you have to give them the credit of coming up with all these new ways to kill people. I mean...
Well, that's what I mean. You got to run out at some point.
But the thing is, I kind of want to be in the writer's room at that point. So how do we kill this character? What about a truck full of timbers and then it fall off?
Through,
Yeah. I know, but
I don't know if he just trips and falls down some stairs.
No, it's too boring. No,
Too boring.
I mean,
2 stairs.
Yeah.
But I think now the standard for horror movies are getting higher and higher. People want something more. I think that's why Long Legs did so well because it deals with symbolism,
Well, I feel like
supernatural power.
Yeah.
There's a lot of successful horror movies. Even like you think of The Substance, you could even claim that's as like a horror movie.
That's true.
And that's what they can be, right? Rather than kind of like you think of Final Destination of that kind of like gore, and you're just like, oh, watching it for the crazy deaths, right?
Yeah.
Or even like Saw, even Saw's in that like
Yes.
the like, oh, what's the next thing they're gonna do?
Cool.
Exactly.
Anything else?
Oh well, there was that other film. What was it? I can't remember if you sent it to me about the killer, the shooter, the boy shooter, but it's the mother from her face. I think it was Eric Lave.
Eric LaRue. Yeah.
So it deals with a mother that her son has shot 3 boys. I'm assuming it's a school shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's her from her perspective of dealing with it. And it seemed like a very, and even the actress, I've known she's done a lot of work, and even the director,
Yeah.
he's like a famous actor as well, a very well acclaimed actor. And I watched the trailer and I'm like, wow, this seems like an interesting film to watch of what's the other side of like the mother or the parents dealing with this kind of horrible thing their son's done. Because I know it came out like last year or it came out a while ago, but it's
it came
only
out,
finally released
Interesting.
here. And I'm like, it's definitely something I'll be interested in watching, but it seems brutal.
Yeah.
Because there's one scene she's like in the, what do they call it? Like the AA meetings or like terrible things.
Yeah.
And she's like talking about it and they're like, oh, your son isn't dead though. And it's like such a brutal thing to be like, and she like cries a bit and I'm like, and I kind of want to watch this film. It's like
Yeah.
the brutality, I always like that idea of like dealing with the other side of it.
Yes. Like
And not
a
like
bit of a moral dilemma, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like she mightn't have done anything wrong, but like she has to deal with all the repercussions, right? And I think that's an interesting way to deal with it because we've been watching some of Villeneuve's old movies, and one of it is Polytechnic, which is about a school shooting. So this is like I'm like, oh, this will be an interesting way to see it, especially with America. Like
Yeah.
they deal with it a lot. So I don't know how it will play off in America very well, but I think it'll be an interesting film.
No, it's a very good pick, and I think I didn't include this in this list because I think this movie came out in 2023.
Well, that's what I was thinking
or
as well,
2022,
but-
and then I think it's got a schedule for a limited release in 2025.
Because I haven't heard much about it. That was
Yeah.
the thing. And I was like, it'd be interesting, I think, to watch it.
And this movie is being directed by Michael Shannon.
Yeah,
so
that's
he's
what I was
a-
saying.
he's
Michael
an
Shannon,
actor.
he's an actor.
And one of the aspects that I like about this movie is the lead actress is Judy Greer.
Yeah.
But she has only been typecast as the eccentric girlfriend or wife.
Well, she's been in a lot of comedies and romantic comedies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
now-
why I was interested. I'm like I have seen her like good in other things, but I'm like, oh, she seems really like toned in and ready to go for this like role, even though it's a couple of years ago now. But I'm definitely keen on watching because that's what I mean. I've never heard of this.
Cool. Anything else you want to add, Jigme?
No, I think we covered almost all of the movies that I wanted to watch.
Yeah, and
there
we
you go.
definitely will let you guys know after we have seen this movie to let you know how they go.
Maybe.
That is the end of the episode. Let us know what you think about the conversation in the comment section below and smash that like button.
Ring the bell and subscribe as well, and you better be back next time.
And we will see you in the next episode.